To our live action coming up from Silverstone, where we join Peter Slater and Tiffany Dell.
A familiar sight, the home of British motorsport. They've staged Formula One here, touring cars and motorbikes, go-karts and trucks. But now, something new. And here it is. This is the purpose-built Stage 8 of this year's event. £750,000 to construct. 8,000 spectators, grandstands, hospitality boxes. The super special has arrived on the RAC rally. This is really an attempt to make the sport more user-friendly, if you like, and it gives spectators here and you at home the chance to see the world's best drivers head-to-head over this 1.2-mile circuit. We'll be seeing all the usual rally things, jumps and water splashes, hairpins and fast corners, and I reckon we'll see some close finishes as well. So before we start, let's just explain how all this lot works. Tiff, just take us around the course.
Yeah, well, as a racing driver that's done a bit of rallying, this is almost the perfect special stage of it. It's 1.2 miles packed with action. It's actually made out of 2 loops, and they cross over about 3/4 of the way around. The 2 drivers start at exactly the same time. The guy that starts in lane 2 goes on the inner loop, which is actually a bit shorter, so he'll finish the first lap looking like he's about 50 yards in the lead, but then they cross over, and the guy that starts in lane 1 will then be catching all the way around that final lap until hopefully they finish in a dead heat.
We don't know how long it's going to take because they've not done it before. We reckon about 1 minute 20 seconds, 1 minute 30 seconds. So if you see the car on one side ahead of the car on the other side, don't worry. And here are the 2 men who would be king. Fitting that they're going to be leading us off. There's Tommy McInnes, 1996 world champion. Doesn't do very well here on the RAC. Best finish is 8th. That was 5 years ago. He's 10 points clear, so remember, he only needs to finish in the first 6 to score 1 point, and he will be world champion. Colin McRAE with the sound of Martin Hewins, his regular bagpiper in the background. 1995 world champion. He's won the RAC twice. He's won 4 events on the World Championship this year, but he's also had 6 retirements. Having a word with Tommy, obviously, a bit of banter before they start, and he's also had 6 retirements. So here we go. We will see in a moment the red light come on, and then when it goes off, which will be within 2 to 4 seconds, they'll be off. Wait for the light to go out. Here they go.
So it's McInnes in lane 1, the longer outside leg. So we'll see McRAE looking like he's getting ahead. He's going to come down to the jump. McRAE will jump just before McInnes splashes. This is spectacular from McRAE on the very inside. First gear hairpin, McInnes slightly longer round the outside, that's second gear probably. Now they look like they're neck and neck, but McRAE's about to go over a bridge as Tommy McInnes goes under the bridge.
We'll see the split time in a moment. There'll be different times though. There's Colin into the mud, going around that hairpin bend there. Colin McRAE 46 seconds, Tommy McInnes 49 seconds, 3 seconds between them.
But now this is when McInnes going to start catching. Of course, McRAE's the one with nothing to lose. Spectacular through the water splash. McInnes is the catch-up man. Spooked out maybe by the Pipers at the start-finish line. In fact, the start-finish line, he had a chance to do a Schumacher and take McRAE out, but he chose not to. Real sportsman in rallying.
Just remember that they time rallying in seconds. We won't see tenths of seconds, so it may just be that they'll finish slightly apart but be given the same time. Let's see how they come over the start-finish.
1 corner to go. Who's it to be to win the very first World Championship rally sprint in Britain here at Silverstone? McRAE on the inside's going to take it.
Well, there you see Tommy McInnes 134, Colin McRAE 133. That was spectacular stuff. So Colin McRAE takes a 1 second advantage there over Tommy McInnes. And Colin McRAE, remember, 3 seconds behind KANKKUNEN at the start.
Just watching this lovely over-the-head shot round that hairpin, almost in harmony together, like synchronised rallying around those 2 hairpins. But of course, McRAE on the outer line, it's a quicker hairpin, so it looks like he's getting away, but then from then on, Tommy was catching all the time.
It looks very muddy down there. This is Carlos Sainz in the Ford. twice world champion, RAC winner in 1992, Luis Moya, his co-driver. He was actually in with a chance of winning the world championship till he had a stone in his engine in Australia just 2 or 3 weeks ago, and alongside him his teammate, well, what can you say about this man? Juha Kankkunen, inscrutable, as are a lot of these Finns, world champion 4 times, RAC winner 3 times, so it's Ford against Ford. Should be interesting.
All I can say is now's the only chance we're going to have of actually mixing up which driver's in which, because we've got 2 identical cars heading off around these 2 loops, one inside the other, so it could be confusing, but we'll do our best.
Now, when they get a bit of mud on Tiff, we'll have no idea, will we? So here we are, Kankkunen and Carlos Sainz, there they go.
Sainz on the outside line then.
Yes, Carlos Sainz on the outside into the puddle there, sliding around a bit. Kankkunen just looks so effortless through the splash for Carlos.
Kankkunen, of course, the man who's won this rally twice before. It's one of his favourite rallies. He's going to be leading the Ford team in the 1998. Sainz moving on.
Yes, Carlos Sainz is going to drive for Toyota next year, and they're calling the pace notes in there, Juha Repo and Juha Kankkunen, and they call them in English. 2 Finns, but they call them in English because Juha's always done it that way.
So Kankkunen's going to come round looking like he's in the lead, power sliding. Always the Ford Escort looks neat. The Subarus are very, very sideways, oversteering cars.
Kankkunen split his 46 seconds. That's exactly the same as Colin and
indeed 49 Carlos Sainz, the same as Macklin. So identical times as we've seen in that opening round.
Well, we did say it was going to be close. If that matches up at the end, there'll be no more than a second between the 2 of them.
All Sainz very neat around that incredibly tight first gear here, but now here comes catch-up time. Kankkunen takes this long loop that takes him power sliding to go underneath the bridge.
Remember, Colin McRAE, 1 minute 33, Tommy Makinen, 1 minute 34. Those are the times they're looking to beat.
I think it's the inside line's going to win again. It's going to be 2 victories from lane 1. We don't know why that is, but it is.
And it's exactly identical. Well, there you are. Juha Kankkunen, 1 minute 33. Carlos Sainz, 1 minute 34. And that's exactly the same as it was for the first 2 on the first round, which just goes to show how close these drivers are around this Super Special.
I should have said 2 wins from lane 2. So lane 2's our favourite lane so far. It's had 2 victories, and we're going to continue this theme.
Richard Burns in the Mitsubishi Carisma with co-driver Robert Reed. British champion 1993. He's driven several of the World Championship rounds. He was 2nd in Safari to Colin McRAE, 4th in Greece and in Indonesia and in Australia. Should be driving all 14 rounds next year. And there's Didier Auriol, ex-world champion, won it on the RAC in 94 with Denis Giraudet, his co-driver. He started the season with Armin Schwartz, but is now with Auriol. Auriol in the Toyota, Richard Burns on the right of your screen. Now on the left of your screen, in the Mitsubishi, here they go.
So Richard Burns in the least favoured lane 1, the outside lane to start off with, and I think a lot of people would love to see Richard Burns get right up the top of this rally, maybe not win it this time, make his first World Championship win, because that would spoil Colin's party. But Richard Burns, of course, local to Silverstone, so he's probably got a lot of friends here watching him around this spectacular Super Special stage.
Probably been overlooked as Richard with all Colin's success, but he's right at the very top end of world rallying, and if he can drive for all 14 rounds next year, then who knows. Ideal teammate over, and there's Richard Burns going under the bridge.
Didier Auriol, of course, using this new, almost like a Formula 1 gear change they've got in this Toyota. It's just, oh, he's out wide on McRAE's mud, we'll call the outside of that corner. Whilst Burnsy, there he is, he's got to catch up the inside. As I said, Auriol using this almost electronic gear shift, exactly the same times for those 2 lanes as we've seen on the opening runs. These top drivers, of course, you'd expect them to be this close. But through the splash, I think Burnsy's closer than anybody's ever been. I think this could be the first win for lane 1 as Richard Burns swings the Mitsubishi into that tightest of hairpins. No, he's got a bit wide.
I remember the time we're looking for, 1 minute 33, the quickest, Colin McRAE and Juha Kankkunen. And there's Auriol, and there's Burns going over the top, coming into this final bend.
Go on, Burnsy. I don't think he's going to make it again. Auriol's on the tight inside line. They're going to stop the clocks.
Identical times, 1 minute 34 seconds, which just goes to show how closely these guys are driving, because Richard Burns, Didier Auriol, Tommy MAKINEN, Carlos Sainz, all 134, only a second between them.
Just to explain, of course, you're all going to say, but AURIOL finished first there, but he did, but it was less than a second between the two, because in rallying, it's all done by complete seconds. So AURIOL did win, but not by that much. Here we see the two splashing round in the background. This is Richard Burns going wide. That was starting the second lap. In fact, I spoke to his gravel note crews, and they wrote on his gravel notes to be careful at that corner, Richard, and he wasn't. Next event.
Just to say that rallying will be timed to tenths of seconds next year. There's Marcus GRONHOLM, the Finnish champion. And then ex-Flying Finn, who knows, he's driving the Toyota. And there's Piero Liatti, probably the best tarmac driver in the world at the moment, with the lovely Fabrizio Pons as his co-driver. And Liatti is going to be driving all 14 rounds in the blue Subaru and the World Championship next year. So Liatti in the blue Subaru, GRONHOLM, the Finn, in the Toyota, the multicolored Toyota, and there they go.
Piero Liatti, considered by some to be a tarmac specialist, but he's really shown in some of these loose stages that he's an all-round rally driver that's going to be a real force to contend with on next year's World Rally Championship. And certainly his car control, we've seen him up at the indoor arena in Birmingham at the Motorsport Show in January, spectacular to the nth degree, and here he's got a bit wide there, he's lost time there in the Subaru.
His best performances as he comes over the bridge have been on tarmac this year. He won in Monte Carlo, he would have won in San Remo, but stood aside to allow Colin McRAE to come through. GRONHOLM, you know, from one of these flying Finnish rallying families his father drove, and we'll see the splits now. Liatti 47 seconds, GRONHOLM 49. That's not as quick as Colin McRAE, Carlos, or Richard Burns.
Yeah, it's the same. It's an equal time for Lates. Liatti is one that's dropped a second. So Liatti, with that mistake we saw coming out of the hairpin, is now, yes, GRONHOLM very close. Normally they'd be split by before. Liatti's going to lose this one, I think, by a fair few seconds.
Just to remind you, the fastest time, 1:33.
GRONHOLM made the same mistake. It's him coming out of the tight hairpin. There's a tricky little left hand that's catching people out there.
Liatti under, GRONHOLM over. It's Liatti in the blue, GRONHOLM in the white, red and green Toyota. Coming into this final bend, very nasty on the inside. We were driving around it yesterday. And Marcus GRONHOLM, 1:34. That's 1 second slower than the fastest time. And Piero Liatti, 1:35. But they are so close.
Liatti then losing that race. The first victory there, I think we've seen now for lane one.
We must point out, although it's head-to-head, although we're interested in this in terms of the rally, well, maybe doesn't mean so much. There's the great Ari Vatanen. Now, Ari, I know, would love to be back in World Championship rallying. He's the current World Cross Country Championships, done a lot of driving in the desert this year. He's with Roger Freeman, a solicitor from Warrington, and there's Bruno Thierry. What a weekend he's had. He was announced yesterday as Ford's second driver in the World Championship next year, and so he should be very happy today. Good day for him. Best for him in the RAC, third in 1994. So it's Ari Vatanen and Bruno Thierry.
Two Fords taking off, and two different styles. Vatanen, very flamboyant, but very sort of, I was going to say, very smooth and flowing as he bounces it off the bank. Thierry quite aggressive looking. When you see him in the cockpit, he's hunched over the steering wheel, but he's the one that seems to have set off best, except he's made a botch of that hairpin.
Ari Vatanen, one of the great personalities of world rallying, wherever he drives. Very, very popular man.
In fact, a bit of a grudge match though. Vatanen had sort of slight hopes of that Ford drive.
Yes, he did.
He could be a bit jealous of Thierry.
Yes, he did have. We spoke to him down in San Remo several weeks ago. He said, I really would love to come back. Let's see how he does on the split. Neither of them are going to be quicker than the leaders. Thierry 47, and poor old Ari looks like he has a real problem. 51 seconds, that's the slowest we've seen so far. Thierry goes through the water splash. Ari goes over the jump.
Vatanen catching up quite well. He was catching up quite well until, again, that very tight first in hairpin caught him out. And that's going to cost him 2 or 3 seconds.
Just shows the top drivers took it so smoothly. Somebody as experienced as Vatanen sliding all over the place. 1:33, remember the time they're aiming for. I don't think either of them are going to beat that. It's the fastest time. Vatanen takes that very wide into the mud. 1:37 for Thierry, 1:38 for Vatanen.
That was a good example there, a rally driver that can't be a racing driver. Harry saw the finish line and he was lured into that last corner by Thierry being ahead of him. He wanted to win so badly. Here we must see the mistake that VATANEN made. I think at this stage he was almost ahead of the game, but he just slides wide there, gets stuck in the sludge on the outside of the corner, and look how that's bogged him down. He almost made it all up again and then made another mistake on the last corner. Great stuff.
So the next pair, Kamioka of Japan and Kevin Gormley, very interesting pair. This second on the RAC last year. Kamioka, Japanese, doesn't speak a word of English. Kevin Gormley, English, doesn't speak a word of Japanese, so how they communicate, goodness only knows. And the Belgian pairing of Grégoire de MEVIUS and Jean-Marc Fortin, World Group N champion 1991 and 92, knows Britain, drove the 1995 championship here in a Nissan. So the Belgian, Grégoire de MEVIUS, and the Japanese, Masao Kamioka, second here last year.
And de MEVIUS has sprinted out of lane 2. He's really going for a flyer, leaping over the crest. Now here's that tricky hairpin, beautifully done. That's the way. You've got to keep the nose of the car right into the apex, round the bank on the inside of that corner.
De MEVIUS, fourth in Portugal, seventh in Acropolis. Car prepared over here by Mike Little. And there's Kamioka under the bridge. They asked him last year, you know, is everything okay? He said yes. And they said, how are you finding the language difference? And he said, yes. There's a split to MEVIUS 46. Now that's as quick as we've seen anyone around here today. And Kamioka 52, which is as slow as we've seen anybody around here.
Yeah, de MEVIUS is really beautifully controlled around that tight hairpin, and he's right on Colin McRAE's pace. A driver with a lot of experience. He's done a lot of Formula 2 driving with front-wheel drive cars. Again, they see how he's kept the nose in very neatly to get the traction. He doesn't go out wide into the sludge as Kamioka does yet again. And this is going to be a big win for de MEVIUS and a very impressive time. I can see this equaling the McRAE MAKINEN time.
1 minute 33 seconds, that's the benchmark for one of these very good Belgian rally drivers. And coming around that final tight hairpin. And let's see what the time is, 1:35 for de MEVIUS, so he dropped a couple of seconds on the second half split, and Kamioka 1:39, so the leaders are still Colin McRAE and Juha KANKKUNEN. So there are the Medeghinis, husband and wife team. Should be interesting in the cockpit there. And against him, Krzysztof Holowicz, who's the current European champion from Poland, and a man who once had an opportunity to work as a stunt driver in Hollywood.
And watching him this morning, he looks like a stunt driver. He looks like a hooligan, Holowicz. You watch this, he gives it all, and he's already left the Medinis at the start.
Yeah, we liked him this morning, didn't we, seeing him going around the corners?
Of course, that's the earlier special stage we're talking about, stages 3 and 4 that held within inside the Grand Prix circuit. Over the jump there for the Medeghinis. In the lead at the moment as we come to this slippy. Holowicz got sliding in on an understeer that turns to an oversteer.
It looks very slippy and muddy up there, doesn't it? Very, very slippy and muddy. Over and under, almost together. And there's your friend, Mr. Holowicz, Poland, Eastern European drivers, doing very, very well on World Championship times. Let's see the splits. Holowicz 48 seconds. Well, Medeghini just 2 seconds off that. Once again, a couple of seconds adrift of what McRAE was doing.
Well, he's letting me down now, Holowicz. Holowicz is 2 seconds off that lane pace, whereas Medeghini's only 1 second down. So the race between these two, I think it's the Italian pairing that seem to be ahead on the clock. Indeed, coming down to this tight hairpin, if Medeghini can just get round and get the traction and get into that left hand of the bank on the outside. A lot of people have been clipping there. This is going to be very tight indeed. Holowicz seems to have made up ground as he goes under the bridge. Medeghini's meanwhile over the bridge. This one's going to be very tight on the head-to-head finish.
And it's becoming like racing, isn't it? The crowd looks to be really enjoying this. 1 minute 33 seconds, remember that benchmark time. Well, there you are, Holowicz 3 seconds off, and Medeghini 4 seconds off.
Here we have the Nissan boys, the first of our Formula 2 front-wheel drive cars.
And Mark Higgins, the champion of Britain in the Almera, first time he's driven this. Very excited about that. And against him, Yoshihiro Sakurai with Ronan Morgan, his Irish co-driver, 5 times the champion of Japan. So a couple of very experienced drivers. Mark Higgins 4th here on the RAC last year. You'll have seen him in our Motor Month programmes as part of the British Championship round, and that very, very exciting finish that they had on the Isle of Man.
And of course, a very different style of four-wheel drive cars. They can set them up with a four-wheel drive power drifts. Here you'll see Mark Higgins use left foot braking. They set the rear brakes so that pressing with the left foot braking, it gets the back out. They've got sequential gearboxes. They can change gear without using a clutch, so they can flick the gears with the left hand whilst using left foot braking and controlling the front end with the power, the right hand with the throttle. Incredibly balancing act for these front-wheel drive cars, but they're very talented. And Higgins, of course, one of a rich vein of British talent we have in this British Championship. Looking forward to helping get breaks like McRAE and Burns have on the world arena.
Mark Higgins said, I've always wanted to be a rally driver. His parents were, his grandparents were, and he's wanted to be a rally driver since he was 3. So Sakurai and Higgins off the pace there on the splits, but we would expect to see the 2-litre cars slower than the 4-wheel drive cars.
Yeah, but only 3 seconds. I mean, Higgins looks like he's going to beat the Japanese star here on this, in this race. Oh, but he's taken his spoiler off on the yum. Steady, Mark, steady.
That was reminiscent of the accident he had on the Isle of Man when they came over a double caution, landed very heavily, and it took the skill of Philip Mills, the experience of his co-driver, to make sure that he reached the end of the stage and went on, of course, to win the British Championship.
But yeah, a fabulous debut by the Almera. This is its first competitive outing, and he's already right at the front of the Formula 2 field overall. He's going to win this heat on the head-to-head, beating a 4-wheel drive car with a time of 1:39, which is only 6 seconds off of McRAE, and he's only got 2-wheel drive and about 270 horsepower. So that sets the Formula 2 pace, 1:39.
That is a very creditable performance from Mark Higgins in that Nissan Almera. And as soon as he finishes, here is the next pairing. Andrea Navarra, Subaru driver from Italy, another of these very quick Italians. We saw him in San Remo. These conditions are very different for him, but he was 8th on the RAC last year. And there's the second of the McRAE brothers, Alistair, once again in the 2-litre Volkswagen, British champion 95. He's going to be competing in 5 rounds of the World Championship next season. And he's the only Volkswagen in the field, the distinctive yellow, Alistair McRAE.
So McRAE's now got a time to beat. He's got the Formula 2 best time of 1:39 set by Mark Higgins, because of course this rally is about 8 rallies within a rally. It's 8 different classes, so each one has a winner at the end of the 3 days, and there's a huge battle between these front-wheel drive 2-litre drivers. See McRAE getting out there, traction so hard to find with the front-wheel drive car, whilst the 4-wheel drive Subaru has gone rorting around the outside of him.
Spare a thought for Colin and Alistair's mum, Margaret, who's got to watch her sons, 2 of her 3 sons, and her husband Jimmy, who's going to be driving in a moment. She hasn't a clue who to cheer for. I'm sure really deep down she'd want to see Colin do best, Colin to go on and win the World Championship. So let's see the split. 50 seconds for Alistair, slower than the 4-wheel drive ones, but quicker than Navarra. And remember, 1:39 is the time we're looking for him to beat, to be the fastest F2.
McRAE takes the splash. Navarra's round the inside, the 4-wheel drive, and the traction coming out still isn't good enough. It's getting so slippery there. But I think Navarra may win this heat, but the big question really for competitors in the 2-litre classes, can McRAE stop the clock at less than 1:39, the time set by young Mark Higgins, the British champion?
Here they go, that's Navarra in the blue car on the outside, Alistair on the inside. Oh, twitched a bit going around there. 1:39 for Navarra and 1:41 for Alistair. So that's not as quick as Mark Higgins. 2 seconds down in the Formula 2. And here's Alistair McRAE's old school friend, Robbie Head in the Renault Maxi Megane, had a very nasty crash in Chatsworth last year, as did this man, Gwyndaf Evans, so long a Ford driver, now in the Seat, and he's going to be driving for them next year, hopefully in some World Championship events. You remember the pictures from last year when they both went off big time in Chatsworth. Robbie Head, Gwyndaf Evans, two of the best of British.
We don't hope one of them just go off here, because right where on the inside there where we see Gwyndaf and the Seat, there's the bank between the two tracks. It's almost like a launching ramp with the centre car barrel rolling over the top. A lot of hazards on the inside of the corners. There's tyres embedded into the banking, which you catch the inside wheel will flip the car up onto two wheels. So once it looks like a nice slide in a country field, there's lots of hidden little hazards around this course. So you've got to be precise, you've got to be neat. And these two, as we've said before, and we'll continue to say, it's the time is overall of the rally, but they will want to beat each other in this little race.
And Robbie Head has a lot to prove this year, because he has been driving for Renault. He's lost his drive for them next year. Rumours that he might be driving for Ford in 1998, but we don't know. 51 seconds for Gwyndaf, a couple of seconds quicker than Robbie Head. Gwyndaf with Howard Davis. Howard says about Gwyndaf, you know, he's so focused, he's got eyes like two golf balls, never seems to blink.
Gwyndaf looks more like a choir boy with rosy red cheeks. He's the most amazing driver that's been from the Welshman. And these two are very close. In fact, there, the mistake has been made. I thought Robbie Head was closer than Gwyndaf on those two hairpins, but he got caught in the sludge, went in too quickly, and now it's going to be a very, very tight thing. Gwyndaf under the bridge, Robbie Head over the bridge. I think the gap's too large. This is going to go to the Seat. Into the final turn. It looks ever so close, but if Gwyndaf keeps it neat and tidy, he's going to stop the clocks at...
Well, 1 second difference. Gwyndaf, that's still not as fast as Mark Higgins as far as the World Formula 2 Cup is, because I might say Seat have already won the Formula 2
So
Cup.
we see here where Robbie Head lost it. He was closing in on Gwyndaf. He just got in a bit deep, just a little bit too much speed carried in, gets the wheels into that sludge, and then straight away you've lost that all-important traction out of the corner. So, of course, that was a second slower than McRAE as we move on. So Higgins still the 2-litre front-wheel drive fastest time.
Harry ROVANPERA, great driver for Seat in their World Championship this year. And Per SVAN in the Opel, Formula 2 champion of Sweden last year. One of 4 new F2 cars, the Opel this year, unveiled in Finland, largely unheralded. But ROVANPERA, the star of Formula 2 this year. And you know, if there was a World Championship for nice guys, then Harry ROVANPERA would be right up there. He's in the yellow car, which is currently on the left of your screen. Per SVAN in the bluey-purple car on the right of your screen.
Per SVAN, a fairly new name to World Rally scene, but he's leapt out of the starting blocks there and left ROVANPERA wondering where he's gone. And a lot of style there, approaching the young very sideways. So SVAN, although he hasn't got all the modern sort of kit car wings on his Astra, very plain, but he's got a bit bogged down. ROVANPERA's got led in, frustrated by seeing SVAN get ahead of it. It's always the problem being on the outside lane. You think you're losing all the time, so you're goaded into going faster.
How much notice will they be taking of each other, though? Do they really look to see?
It's going to be out the corner of your eye. I can see him. I want to beat him. I want to beat him. They know it doesn't really matter. It's time that matters in a 3-day long event. This is nothing, but they want to win these little races. SVAN, a lot of understeer, very visible on that Astra, but that's a quick split. 49. That's faster than Higgins did. So Per SVAN looking to set a new Formula 2 benchmark.
Harry ROVANPERA's had a terrific season. He won F2 in no fewer than 5 events this year. In South America, in Australia, in Indonesia, very different conditions. But there's no event quite like the RAC. It's either cold and snowy, or like it is today, milder but very, very muddy.
This is looking at a real surprise. SVAN, he was through that hairpin, didn't get out into the edges, kept the wheels. Look how far ahead he is now. We seem to be waiting forever for ROVANPERA. So SVAN's time, can this be a real surprise and be a new best Formula 2? He's into the last corner and stopped.
Yes, he's done it.
1 second faster than Mark Higgins, and that's a superb effort by the young Swede.
A terrific performance by Per SVAN, 1 second quicker than Mark Higgins in the Formula 2 Cup. And there's Martin Rowe in the next Renault Maxi Megane, second in the British Championship in '97, won the Manx Rally, that's his home event. And against him, Luis Clement in the Mitsubishi, 1996 champion of Spain, who's driving a Citroën on that occasion. So now we have Martin Rowe, one of the best of British, against Luis Clement.
Of course, Clement in the Group N Mitsubishi, so this is the more production-based four-wheel drive over 2-litre class. So this should be very level actually between the Formula 2 cars. So it's four-wheel drive Clement has, but he hasn't got all the racing brakes and racing gearboxes.
Martin Rowe knows what he's going to be doing next year. We mentioned earlier on that Clement went off slightly there. We mentioned about Robbie Head losing his drive to Renault in next year in '98. This is the man who's taking over from him. Martin Rowe is going to be driving for Renault in '98.
Yeah, Martin Rowe, the latest of the young chargers, these British stars. We've got Gwyneth Evans, Alistair McRae, Mark Higgins, now Rowe joining them. And he's going to be interesting to see how his time compares around this tight and tricky course. But Clement looking very impressive out front at the moment.
And Martin Rowe is going to have a very experienced co-driver with him next year, Derek Ringer, who used to drive alongside Colin McRae, indeed, when Colin won the world title. He's going to be driving with Martin Rowe next year.
Right, Martin Rowe has closed the gap. This is good. If he can sneak it round that hairpin, good, Martin. Stay out of that slash on the outside. This one's going to be a close call at the finish. Clement goes under the bridge. Rowe goes over the bridge. It's going to be very tight. Down towards the final corner, neck and neck. Rowe's on the outside.
This is about as close as we've seen them, I think, right the way through the afternoon. Well, that's unusual because they were so close, and yet Clement 141, Martin Rowe 142. So there are the next two cars.
It's Mr. McRae, it's Daddy McRae on the right, debuting the 1600cc Hyundai. It's Jimmy McRae. And this, of course, the class that Stig Blomqvist did so well in the Skoda last year, coming third overall, the up to 1600cc class. Blomqvist sadly not in the rally, but Jimmy McRae debuting this Hyundai in the World Series in Britain. And ahead of him...
Oh, he didn't do that very well, did he? So Jimmy McRae with Rob Arthur as his co-driver.
That's Kalanjamit Singh, the Malaysian champion. Understeering one ahead, but again, of course, the Group N cars we've seen, we saw before in that previous race with Louis Clement, they understeer badly into tight hairpins. They haven't got all the technical advances that the Group A cars have to help them swing into tight hairpins.
So Karamjit Singh from Malaysia, 50 seconds for him. Where's Jimmy? Is he still... Ah, here he is. 57 seconds. Karamjit Singh driving the Proton Persona. Drives mainly in Asia Pacific, 6th in Indonesia, where he won Group N. Known, of course, as the Flying Sikh, very affectionately known, very popular in world rallying, Karamjit Singh, as of course is Jimmy McRae. I was asking somebody how many RACs has Jimmy done. They think this is his 15th.
And Jimmy nearly spun the Hyundai there. Too much handbrake there, Jimmy. And of course, he's only got 1600cc, so he's up again. But Kalanjamit looking very impressive, the Malaysian star. And of course, they have plenty of rain and mud in Malaysia in monsoon time, so he's probably equal to whatever conditions the RAC can produce. And he's going to stop the clocks at a very respectable 141.
Coming home alone. Where's Jimmy? Ah, here's Jimmy. I think he just wants to hog the television screen. There is Jimmy McRae. 1 minute 49 seconds, 16 seconds slower than son number one, Colin. Now here we have David Higgins in car number 31, brother of Mark, one of the Seats. So, such good performers in F2 this year. And alongside him, I think that's Chris Rosenberger in the Mitsubishi, the champion of Austria. Car number 33, yes indeed it is, with Catherine Francois co-driving for him.
David Higgins, of course, won the Group N category of the British Rally Championship. He wasn't in the front-wheel drive Formula 2 cars. He's now moved up to that category with SEAT. So this is a big break for David Higgins in this event, and he's going to be looking to impress, to try and pick up a works drive.
Yes, he's going to be doing some work for SEAT next year. When the World Rally car comes on stream, we reckon he may be competing for an F2 World Rally drive. Took a Mini to Australia, you know, to compete in Rally Australia. Got up to his axles in dust and hardly finished a stage. Did do the Super Special in Langley Park, though. Through the splash goes Rosenberger.
Yeah, Higgins won't be pleased with his time. He's about 5 or 6 seconds slower than Big Brother. Whoa! Rosenberger using a bit of... Actually, that worked very well indeed. Maybe some of the other drivers had seen that. He hooked the inside of the bank, which helped get the back out, and he's got a Group N car as well, and got through that hairpin very effectively. And the best Group N time we've seen so far is about a 1:40. What was Lewis Clement's time?
Lewis Clement did a 1:41.
Equalled by Kalabich Singh. So we have 1:41, equal leaders in Group N. Can Rosenberger set a new Group N time? And he does, 2 seconds quicker. While David Higgins comes round to finish, a good 8 seconds slower than brother. He won't be happy with that.
So the next two drivers, well, here's the Skoda, the first Skoda so far, Bernard Munster from Belgium. And alongside him, I think that is Rhys Jones in the Mitsubishi. He's from New Zealand. Now, Tiff, you know all about Bernard and you know all about Skodas. You drove a Skoda in last year's RAC. What are they like?
Indeed, Bernard was one of my teammates in the big team. Blomqvist, of course, was 3rd overall. Munster finished in the top 20, and he's a very accomplished Belgian driver. And Skoda, of course, have won their class in the RAC rally something like, I don't know, 25 or 26 times in 27 years. And Munster is now very much the man, really, to take Skoda's challenge to take another class victory. He's in the same class we've seen Jimmy McRAE. It's going to probably be quicker than McRAE, who had so many problems. So Munster hoping to carry on Skoda's class winning a series as Blomqvist not in the rally.
Yes, Blomqvist's not in it. Neither of the two men who normally drive their World Championship F2 cars, Pavel Sibera and Emil Triner. Stig should have been here, but there was confusion over the entry and they couldn't make it. There's the splits. Rhys Jones 51 seconds, Munster 55. I'm told that Rhys Jones is only the second time he's been outside of New Zealand, rallying very popular down in New Zealand. Eric Evans is his co-driver, he's from Wales, and they have a driver down there, you know, called Possum Bourne, who is a national hero on the Rally New Zealand. Nobody interested in Colin McRAE, all wanted to know how Possum Bourne was doing. And under goes Jones, and over goes the Skoda.
It's closing, he's not going to catch. Jones is going to stop the clock, Group N 1:42, a very respectable time, whereas Munster 1:46. Probably the fastest 1600cc we've seen, but we've only seen 2 of them.
Car number 37, Jason Sharp in the Peugeot. And against him, Olli Harkki from Finland. Jason Sharp, very interesting. He won the Peugeot Challenge in 1997, and the prize for winning that was this drive. So, entered the competition, and one comes from Oakham in Rutland. I suppose you call him a man of Rutland. Olli Harkki, well, he could be the next great Finnish driver. He's driven over here in the British Championship, but there are so many of them who could be the next great Finn, going back as far as drivers like Timo Mäkinen, Hannu Mikkola. Of course, nowadays you have Tommi Mäkinen and Juha Kankkunen, Kitaletto. Just who's going to be the next great Finnish driver?
Well, I suppose if you drive to work on ice, I mean, it's a big advantage, isn't it? Every morning they go off to work and it's all ice and very slippery. Whereas the RAC rally last year, I was struggling. It was sheet ice everywhere for a day, and I never knew which way I was going, uphill, downhill, or down. I used to press all 3 pedals at once and nothing had any effect at all. So I just looked for somewhere soft to crash.
No ice here, but Olli Harkki 6 seconds quicker than Jason Sharp on that first leg.
Yes, Olli Harkki in the Group N over 2 litre category 4-wheel drive. Jason Sharp in the up to 2 litre Formula 2 category. Again, that's keeping the power on, keeping in that grippy section in the middle of those hairpins that slide the car around, and Olli Harkki looking very impressive indeed. Another very faultless looking run.
Remember, this is the 8th of today's stages. They have another 3 after this, and then they go down into Wales. We'll be keeping you up to date, of course, with everything that happens in our evening programmes, but here we see Ollie Harkey and Jason Sharp, and I'm afraid this is no contest.
Ollie Harkey getting 1 second off the Group N pace there, set by Rosenberger. So a very quick time, second fastest Group N over 2 litre time.
Jason Sharp, 1 minute 45.
I've heard of the word non-stop action, but have you ever seen non-stop? They're off. It's Marcus Dodds, it looks like. Is this the guy who reckon he'd be in the top 10? No, wrong man.
Car 41, they're coming from all over the world, is Alexander Zheludov in the Ford Escort Cosworth. I'm told he's only 20 years old, and this is only his 4th ever rally, so he's doing really well to be competing at this level. And from the inexperienced to the very experienced, that's Per Eklund in the Saab.
And we saw him this morning, the early stage. He's got his glasses on now, Per, and he's still a huge competitor. Does a lot of rallycross racing, and has come back to the RAC rally again in this Group N Saab, and it's great to see him.
The 50th anniversary of Saab. So Per Eklund.
He's losing this because Yellow Dove, Eklund should be in the lead in that lane, so Yellow Dove is actually doing a very impressive time, 53 seconds on that inside lane, which is only, what, 4 seconds slower than Colin McRAE, so impressive by the Russian champion.
As the Eastern Europeans have done very well.
Oh, but he slid that too wide, got in too deep, too much handbrake, and almost backed it into the soft tyre wall there. So it's lost him a bit of advantage, but certainly Yellow Dove are going to win this little head-to-head and put up a very respectable time at the same time.
As I said, the Eastern Europeans have done well. There was a Latvian in second place at car 108 at the end of the first stage. Nobody knew who he was, but...
Yellow Dove comes sliding round McRAE's muddy corner, 1 minute 42. Which
Yellow Dove 142, Per Eklund 146. So it's been pretty exciting, this super special. And we're coming to the end of our transmission. Let's just have a look at Colin McRAE, joint fastest, 1 minute 33 seconds alongside Juha Kankkunen.
Here we see McRAE coming down. This is on the inside, tight finishing line. Makinen, the man behind. This is how he hopes it's going to finish, except there should be 5 cars in between him and Makinen by the end of 3 days. But whether that's going to happen, obviously McRAE leaves this stage in the lead. But beautiful formation sliding as McRAE crosses the line with Makinen behind him.
Colin McRAE, the fastest time here at the Super Special.
And Peter Slater and Tiff Needell there finished just about together as well. And that's the Silverstone Super Special on this first day of the Network Q RAC Rally. In the context of the outcome of the whole rally, it's perhaps of little significance, but it's a graphic illustration of the rally driver's art and great entertainment as well. Just to confirm the Super Special result, at least as it concerns the top runners, Colin McRAE and Juha Kankkunen, the best, 133 each, all very close and all great fun. But remember, there's a total entry of 162 in this Network Q RAC Rally. Most importantly, the current overall position sees Colin McRAE still in front of Kankkunen by 3 seconds, Carlos Sainz third, Richard Burns fourth, and Makinen still back in ninth. He has to improve on that to make sure of the world title. Well, on they go now to Donington before returning to Cheltenham tonight. We'll have action from all today's spectator stages, which have included not only Silverstone and Cheltenham, but also Blenheim, where they were also trying pretty hard. That's in our Top Gear Rally Report, 9:15, BBC 2.